Hi everyone, we're excited to introduce you to Study Abroad Insight series, Ireland, where we'll have a set of experts to answer all your queries about Ireland and the Irish culture. Ireland is a country that can offer you the safest environment to study, learn, make a career and experience a great lifestyle. I'm your host Amit Chaturvedi, and on behalf of IDP Education, I welcome you to Study Abroad Insight series. Keep watching this space for more and do log in to our social media platforms. Hello and welcome to another episode of Study Abroad Insight series. Today I have got two very special guests from Enterprise Ireland. I have got with me David Flood, who is a director in India looking after South Asia. Along with him is Wendy D'Souza, Vice President, Enterprise Ireland. And this discussion is revolving around the questions which students have. We'll try and give you all the answers possible to look at education opportunities in Ireland and make a good career after studying in Ireland. So I hope we can have some good answers for our students.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you. So my first question is, let me try and understand in terms of what is that Education Ireland is doing in India. So what's your role and what's that you're doing in India?
Sure. So just to give a little bit of background, Education in Ireland is a Government of Ireland initiative which brings together a large range of higher education institutions across Ireland under one brand, which allows students to make a lot of informed choices, to get information and to understand what is available in terms of going to study at a higher level in Ireland. So Education in Ireland represents about 30 colleges back in Ireland, and 20 of those would have quite an active interest in coming to India and engaging with students here. So our role as an organisation is to promote Ireland as a destination for students, to organise practical things like student fairs, and to really give as much information as possible so that students really are in a good position to be informed about the types of opportunities and courses that are available for them to look at.
Right. Any top 2 or 3 key initiatives of what you said, Wendy, you want to add, which are absolutely student focused?
So we do education fairs twice a year in India, generally in February and in October. We also organize pre-departure briefings, and the key thing in those is we have somebody from the visa office who comes to actually give them first-hand, how to apply for a visa, because that's a key factor in this whole process of education. So those are the key activities that we do.
And David, if you can just help us understand, what are the reasons you think which is kind of driving Indian students to consider Ireland as a choice of destination?
Yeah, I think there are a number of reasons for that. I think Ireland is seen as a safe choice, a welcoming country where you can go and fit in with the culture and society quite quickly. I know myself from coming from Ireland to live in India. I think there's a great affinity between the two countries, between the people. Culturally, people get on very well together. So I think that's one reason why Indian students are very attracted to Ireland. Another is the high level of the education that we offer. Many of our colleges are really offering some excellent top-tier courses which give students really good opportunities to move on into careers after they've completed their studies. Ireland is also attracting a huge number of multinational corporations, has a great business and startup environment, and these are all exciting opportunities for students who are considering, coming to Ireland, finishing their study, and then what do they do in terms of their career afterwards. It's a great stepping off point for them to come to Ireland.
And from your perspective, what are the reasons for Indians as such students to kind of choose to study abroad?
Students would choose Ireland mainly because of the kind of qualification, you know, that is there. It's recognized worldwide. Obviously, the 2-year stay back is also, you know, beneficial because it gives a great return on investment. Some of the sectors that in Ireland, like the IT, the pharma, biomedical, is really booming. So students find, you know, kind of job opportunities good out there. So those are kind of the key reasons why they go to Ireland. Abroad, I guess it's the kind of practical education that is offered abroad is what draws students there, whether it's Australia or New Zealand or anywhere else. Okay, I think that's one of the key reasons that, you know, students would go abroad.
Do you think, looking at the options, as you said, there are plenty of options for students to pick a destination and study abroad. Is Ireland more affordable a destination? Does it offer better quality education? So if you can throw some more light around it.
Yeah, I think a lot of students will choose Ireland. First of all, one thing we didn't mention, of course, is that the main language of education in Ireland is English, and that's a great advantage for Indian students coming to Ireland. I think also Ireland offers, as in all countries, there are places in Ireland which are expensive and there are places in Ireland which are very reasonable. So obviously there's a variety of choices available, and it's up to students to investigate what is the choice that suits them best. But what I think about Ireland is the sheer variety, it's the range across so many different sectors of industry. Wendy has just mentioned a few of them, but our IT industry is incredibly strong. Our life sciences industry, 9 of the top 10 pharma companies in the world have a base in Ireland. Ireland is also home to huge leasing, aircraft leasing operations and so on. So there are many, many industrial sectors, many, many different opportunities and courses that are aligned to really help students to explore a number of options.
But Wendy, if you have to compare some of the destinations which are popular in India,
Yeah.
and you draw a comparison with Ireland as a destination, do you think Ireland is comparatively cheaper?
So let's take, if you take on an average, the course fees in Ireland would be about say 18,000 euro. I'm just taking an average, okay? And the cost of living would range between say 8,000 to 14,000 euro. If you convert that into rupees, a 1-year master's, which is again advantageous for Ireland because it offers a 1-year master's, would come between 20 to 25 lakhs, and I think that's quite competitive compared to some of the other destinations.
My next question is to understand the kind of institutions Ireland has. Of course, as you said, could be a combination of colleges, universities. So if you can throw some more light in terms of what's the mix of institutions, how many universities, what kind of universities, colleges, and some other institutions if you have. So if you can throw some more light, the mix of institutions.
Sure. Yeah, so we have 7 main universities in Ireland. We have about 15 technology colleges or institutes of technology, and then we have a whole range of private colleges offering speciality courses as well. So really we offer some, as I said, we offer a lot of variety in Ireland. The more traditional courses which appeal to Indian students you'd probably see in our top level universities, but also the role of the institutes of technology is advancing considerably at the moment. I think I mentioned at the beginning that the Education in Ireland brand represents about 30 different colleges. So you can imagine within that there will be many different types of course, some very technical, some more focused on humanities. We're seeing Indian students who are now more interested in developing or who are interested in coming to Ireland for courses in design, which is something we hadn't seen before. So we're really seeing that Indian students are exploring a much wider range of courses than they might have done in the past, when originally they would have been looking at science, technology, STEM, very STEM-centred subjects, engineering, of course. Now we're seeing people coming to Ireland because they recognise that there's a lot of other options available.
So with this wide variety of institutions which Ireland has, would you like to suggest our students what are the key intakes for students, and do you have multiple intakes? It's just one intake?
Most of the institutions have just one intake, which is September. I think there's just about 3 or 4 that have a Jan intake. Some of them have an April intake. I think only 1, 2 have an April intake, but it's essentially a September intake.
Of course, we have seen a growth in students going from India to Ireland.
Yes.
So what has been the kind of growth which, of course, when you share, will enthuse our students to kind of look at Ireland as one of their favorite destinations?
Yeah, so I think we've actually, we only just talked about this yesterday, and actually there's been quite explosive growth in the number of students coming from India to Ireland over the last even just 5 or 6 years. So we've seen, I think we calculated, we've seen about 1,000% growth over the last 6 years, which for us is really impressive. It means that our message is getting across. It means that Indian students are really now recognizing that Ireland is a great destination for education. I think, you know, when we started this campaign 6 or 7 years ago, our first issue was really making people aware of where Ireland was, what Ireland stands for, you know, what's unique about Ireland and why you would come and study there. Now that brand has been sort of recognised, and students are coming to our fairs not asking where is Ireland and why should I study there. They're coming to talk to us about, this is the course that I want to do in this particular institution. How do I qualify? What do I need to know before I go? So the whole, how should I put it, the reason people are coming to us has really evolved and changed, and I think that's reflected in the numbers that we're seeing, and we're very, very happy about that.
That's really great. Looking at such a good growth in numbers, which are top 5 subjects Indian students are really keen to consider studying in Ireland, if you have any idea around?
5 subjects.
Subject areas, if I say so.
Okay, so ICT, then engineering, business, pharma, and biomedical. That's been the top currently, yeah.
Okay. And largely students are interested to go to universities or colleges as well?
It's a mix.
It's a mix.
It's a mix.
Yeah.
So is it a 50-50 mix or more?
50-50 mix, yeah.
I'd also add to that that the, you know, when the students come to the fair, it's really useful for the representatives from our different educational institutions to interact with those students, because they're really reflecting, these are the kind of courses I'm interested in, this is the career that I'm thinking about, and that actually is then reflected in the development of new courses by our third level institutions. So we're seeing a lot of new courses emerging in areas like artificial intelligence, data analysis, in robotics, VR, AR, those cybersecurity as well. Those are being developed because the students coming to the fair are saying, these are the kind of areas I'm interested in. So it's a kind of a two-way process.
Right. So, Vedi, these are the typical degree programs.
Yes.
Which are the popular diploma programs Indian students are considering?
So, I think diploma programs that they consider, see, they can go to Ireland to study a diploma program, okay, but it's more they look at it as a pathway into, you know, if they have not qualified for a master's program, then they would do a diploma program and then go into a master's program. Okay, again it would be the same, it would be business, it would be IT, it could be not pharma so much, but it would be business and IT a lot, yeah.
Are there students who go for a diploma program and are eligible for a post-study work opportunity?
No, so a diploma program will not give them the post-study work visa, because you have to have level 9 and above to get the post-study 2-year, and a diploma program will be level 7 or 8.
Okay, one question which most students are interested to know is on accreditations of various programs. So, I know most institutions are recognized, but could you name some courses, some programs which are very well known, accredited to some global bodies, or how does it work in Ireland?
So, all the 30 institutions that are there on the Education Ireland brand are QQI certified. Okay, and that's why students from India should look at those institutions itself. The other accreditations would be like, you know, for psychology courses, you'll have Psychology Society of Ireland. For then there will be the MBA programs with EMBA and ICOES. You would have the accounting programs with ACCA. So, you know, those are the kind of things that they should look out for.
Great. My next question is to help our student understand the value of Irish degree. We all understand degrees are internationally accepted, but you representing the Irish education, what do you think and what have you sensed over the years? how well this degree is accepted by few prospective employers and others?
Okay, so main thing is the value of Irish degree. I get asked a question, do students come back to India? Okay, obviously not. I mean, I have very few alumni that are there here. If they've come back, it's mainly because they've joined their family business out here. But we've seen most students kind of stay back in Ireland or go to the US or Europe, UK or even Australia to work. So that shows that the qualification is valid worldwide.
So David, my question is for the benefit of our student, what's the value of an Irish degree? People who decide to study abroad, choose Ireland as a destination, invest a lot of time and money. So what's the global value in terms of they going to Ireland, experiencing that education and then an outcome?
That's an important question. I mean, when students are looking at traveling abroad, it's a bit of an adventure. They're thinking about many different things, and there's considerations about their future, their career, there's considerations about their family, their friends. I think coming to Ireland offers real value in that respect, because Ireland is in many ways a familiar environment for Indian students. It's a welcoming environment. They're going to be studying through English. It's also a small country. It's very easy to get around. And it's also a community where you can connect really quickly when you arrive, not just with other nationals from India, but from all over the world, because it's a very cosmopolitan country now. And it's also a great place to plan the next step in your career. Because if you look at the business environment in Ireland, it's very closely connected with our third level institutions. So we have a whole series of partnerships between industry and third level institutions. So if you're actually studying there, very often you're very well placed to look at the opportunity that might come next, which could be a job opportunity after you graduate. And that may not just be confined to Ireland, because many of the multinational companies that are based in Dublin and around the country would have other operations around the globe. So really coming to Ireland gives you a very valuable opportunity to not only study, but to consider where you might go with your career in the next stages.
That's very useful for students. Maybe my question is, students who go for undergraduate or a postgraduate program, are they required to sit for any entrance test or an exam?
No, there is no entrance test. If they're going for undergrad or a master's, okay, yes, for an MBA they do need to sit for their GMAT, and they would require 3 to 5 years work experience for an MBA program. But for the other programs, it's essentially their scores, either if they're going for an undergraduate, their 10th and 12th scores, and if they're going for a master's, it will be their undergraduate scores. And they need an English language. So it's either the IELTS or TOEFL, PT, any of the English language is recognized. It is an institution requirement, but more than institution requirement, it's a visa requirement. So the visa office will require the English language proficiency test. So
right. So that's the kind of eligibility.
Yeah.
But what is the process as such to make an application, and how the flow is? They expect some document to come from the institution and they make a deposit. So how does it work?
So generally they would make an application online to the institution directly. And there are, the institution will ask them for certain documentation like their scores and transcripts, a letter of recommendation, all that they'll apply, and then they would get an offer letter. Okay, it's only once the offer letter comes from the institution, the terms and conditions will be put in the offer letter, whether they need to make a deposit or not. They will then get the unconditional offer from the institution itself, and they can go into the next process that is there, which is the visa application or a loan process or whatever it is. Yeah.
David, you earlier spoke about a lot of MNCs around
Yes.
Dublin and areas. So is there a close working with the institution and the various organizations, be it on internships or finding other opportunities?
Yeah, so there are quite a number of actual formal structures between industry and the third level institutions in Ireland. So just as one example, we have a range of about 15 what we call technology centres, and these are actual formal alliances based on sectoral themes which are formed between MNCs, small and medium enterprises in Ireland, and the third level colleges. So for instance, we have a great centre in the University of Limerick, which is called CEDAR, which is looking at data analytics, big data. So that brings together a whole range of some of these really large multinational companies, also Irish companies that are maybe suppliers or have interests in that particular area, startups, and researchers in the universities. So students are actually exposed to this kind of research, this kind of activity all the time. And if they're interested, if it's somebody who's interested in data analytics, this is a really good opportunity to actually see what the companies are doing, to identify, to look at the research that's coming through, because all of these centres are looking to what's going to be developed in the next 5 to 10 years. So it's very focused on the future. So if students are exposed to that at an early stage, they can really begin to see where they might focus their studies, where they might develop their skills, and where the opportunities for career development might come in the future.
So as you said, there are a large number of such international organizations in Ireland. What would be the number of the big players? Is it in hundreds or more than that in Ireland?
It would be in hundreds. I mean, and you know, I don't want to give you big lists of who's in Ireland, but people like Google, Facebook, Eli Lilly, Roche, you know, big names across all sectors would be in Ireland. But I also want to emphasize that a lot of Indian companies have also made their European headquarters in Ireland. So companies like Tata, like Tech Mahindra, like Infosys, Wipro, they all have large-scale operations in Ireland, and they've come to Ireland because they've found not only is a great business environment, but it's also a great source of talent. So when they're looking to recruit people for their operations in Ireland, obviously their first port of call is going to be with the third level colleges that they have a close connection with. So it's important to recognise that it's not just American or British or European companies, Irish companies that are based in Ireland. It's actually attracting a lot of Indian companies to base themselves there as well.
Right. One key factor for all students, Wendy, is when they're considering to study abroad, scholarships do play a role.
Yes.
And I know every other destination offers a lot of scholarships. So what kind of scholarships are made available to students who are looking at studying in Ireland? And are there any high value scholarships which you as Enterprise Ireland manage, or there are some other bodies or trusts who do that? So that would be very useful for our students.
Yes, so there are scholarships offered by each of the institutions itself. Okay, it could be as low as €1,000, but go up to 50% off. Okay, there's also the Government of Ireland scholarships, which is highly coveted. Okay, and they could be full fee waiver, and those would be, you know, they have specific amounts just for Indian students. Those are available. They do come out somewhere end of Jan. Okay, and would be kind of, we would advertise it quite a bit for students from India.
And what's the process? I mean, you announce them in whenever you announce. Do they make a separate application, or how does it work?
So yes, we do announce it. We have a lot of press releases that go out. We do a lot of social media around it, and we would mention the process because it's a separate application process altogether, which they would apply to the HEA, and you know, for those scholarships. Yeah.
Another aspect for students is, you initially mentioned something about living in Ireland, but looking at some of the key cities, be it Dublin, Cork, Limerick, is it really cost effective, or what kind of money one has to have to spend that year or two while they're studying in Ireland?
Yeah, so I mean, we give guidelines in advance. We do a pre-departure briefing every year. And when students are coming to talk to us, we do give them guidelines on the cost of living in the different cities around Ireland and what we would expect them to bring with them in terms of finance to keep themselves going while they are studying. We also should mention that students are allowed to work part-time while they're studying in Ireland, so up to 20 hours a week to support themselves while they're studying. But yes, we would be very aware of the fact that students need to come well prepared, and they need to understand what the reasonable costs of living are, because they will have to find accommodation, they will have to support themselves while they're away, and those costs can be significant, and they vary from place to place. So Dublin would probably be, as our capital city, would be an expensive destination, but there are many other colleges that are based in places like Galway, in Letterkenny, in Kerry. These are all western parts of the country, and the cost of living there would be very much less than in Dublin. So students have to take that into consideration for sure.
David, another thing which is very critical for parents, and especially for those kids also who are traveling for the first time out of the country, is the safety.
Yes.
So, how safe it is for first-time travelers and students when they come into a new environment is to live and make a good life?
Yeah, so I think, you know, the best thing I can say about that is we talk to students and alumni all the time who have been to Ireland, who've experienced life there. And I have to say, we have received really, really positive and good feedback about that particular aspect. Students coming from India to Ireland do feel safe, they do feel it's a good, welcoming environment, and most of them have very, very good experiences while they're there. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that everything is perfect and everything is wonderful, but what I will say is the feedback we get and the stories that we hear is that students who go to Ireland really do have a great experience and feel that it's something that they would recommend to other students. And I think if they're willing to do that, then we feel that it's something is going very well.
Vinny, my question to you is on the work aspect for students, because students who are investing money to study abroad,
Yes.
coming into Ireland,
Yeah.
they also want to be exposed to some working,
Yeah.
which is possibly linked to their choice of subject. So, if you can throw some light, the kind of work they can do full-time and part-time, when they can do full-time and part-time work, and possibly what kind of money they can expect while working.
So, obviously during study period they can work 20 hours part-time, okay, and during holiday period it's 40 hours. The minimum wage in Ireland is €9.55 per hour, okay, and when they're working part-time, it's mostly into retail and hospitality. That's where they work. Many of them do get also, you know, opportunities to work on campus as student ambassadors, and that is really beneficial for them because it adds to their kind of, you know, CV and all that. Yeah, but generally that's generally retail, hospitality is where you'd see students working part-time.
Students who want to pursue programs in area of law or STEM or in a kind of subjects, do they also get opportunities to work part-time or full-time in their choice of subject or in their choice of areas?
Some of the courses have projects or internship as part of their program, and so if it's an IT program, some of them have it, you know, where they work with a company, and that's where they get the experience, you know, to work with the company out there. Some of the internships are paid, so they get, you know, a stipend for doing the project. Yeah.
Right. So these work as such, as you said, are with the companies. So are there avenues for students where they are also kind of employed by these employers once they finish the internship?
Yes. So we've seen examples of where students say, let's take a company like Oracle. They have done their, you know, project with Oracle, and after they finish their course, they've actually got picked up by the same company for a full-time job after they finish their masters. It's just that employers find it, you know, that the students are really good from India, and they have kind of learned what the organization is all about, and they blend well into the company, so they take them on after they finish their masters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, talking about that, because post-study work is of course of a great interest to students.
Yes.
So what happens once a student has finished the degree program and they have the 2-year window to explore?
Yes.
So where do they kind of go to find work? Do they get support from the institution or they find it otherwise?
Well, I guess that's, you know, a question for each individual. I don't think there's a prescribed path for anyone who's looking for a job. Looking for a job is always going to be, you know, a personal endeavor. There are support systems around career guidance and around mentorship that are always available within the university system. But I think, you know, eventually students are going to have to make those choices and do that kind of research themselves. If you're looking for a job, it's like everyone else, you have to go out and you have to find it. But I do think that, you know, if you look at the employment figures in Ireland at the moment, there is very low unemployment, so there's a lot of demand for jobs. And in fact, a lot of the large companies are crying out for human resource talent. There's always a shortage of highly skilled people. So we're seeing a lot of people come to Ireland to find employment. So I think for students who are already there and have finished their education in Ireland, there's a lot of opportunities for them to explore.
Wendy, would you like to suggest to our students if there are any job shops or career fairs within the university campuses?
So many of the universities have kind of career fairs where they get either companies as a group coming or individual companies coming to kind of have recruitment cycles. There's also the grad program in Ireland where it's a huge career fair, okay, at a very big hall, and students can go there and apply. Each of the universities do have a career cell, okay, where they will guide the student on what exactly the employer is looking at, okay, how they should get their CV ready, how they should, conduct themselves in an interview. They train them on all of that, and that's not just at the end of the year. They started early, so they even when we, in the pre-departure briefing, we tell students do it from day one itself. So when they go in September to college, the grad fair is actually in October, and the colleges as well as us, we advise them go to the fair in October itself. Even though you're going to graduate next year, it's good to know what the employers are looking at right now, so you can build your skills, to suit that. You have a year to build it up. So that's really helpful for students to remember.
It's really useful.
Yeah.
Another part of it is after they have the 2-year post-study work opportunity, and if they're employed, what are the ways, what's the method to get a work permit?
Okay, so depending on what they study, okay, they need to basically get a salary of 30,000 euros to be able to apply for a work permit, but it's got to be in the skill that they've studied. So an IT person obviously has to get a job in the IT sector, which is 30,000 euro to be able to get a work permit. And the work permit is normally valid for the contract period. So if it's a 2-year period, then it would be for 2 years. And then the extension and all comes up based on performance.
Perfect. Other thing which is of great interest to students is to, when they're arriving into Ireland, what are the things they should be kind of aware of, concerned about? So if you can just throw some light, maybe a small list of top 3, 5, 6 things they should be conscious of.
Sure. Well, I think the first thing and the most important thing is to make sure that you have your accommodation sorted out before you arrive in Ireland. There's a lot of high demand for good quality accommodation in Dublin, and if you want to live close to your college or university, it's really, I think, that the most important thing is to sort that out in advance. Dublin is seeing a boom at the moment in terms of new student accommodation under construction and being made available. So that's one really good option for students to look at. These are purpose-built student accommodations, shared accommodation blocks, which are close to the various institutions. Other than that, I would say check, if you have a network when you arrive. It's really good to have some friends or some family or some connections that you're aware of so that you can immediately settle in. And I would say after that, really, it's what I would say to students is be aware of that you're coming to Ireland to study, but you're also coming to Ireland to have some fun. So be prepared to look out for clubs and societies that you can get involved in. Think about exploring the country. Those are sort of maybe less practical steps, but it's certainly worth something. It's something worth considering before you arrive.
Great. Another thing which will be critical for our students to know is the typical local commute from where they live to the university or the college they are. So how convenient it is for students, outsiders, to be comfortable and commute easily?
So it really does depend on the location of your college. Most of the colleges would be based within the city centre. Some are based in suburban districts, but the majority would be based in city centre. So a lot of students would depend on public transport, and across the major towns and cities there would be buses and trains and so on. When I was a student, I used to use my bike, But I don't know how many Indian students or how many students nowadays would be happy to do that, but I'd certainly recommend that as a good way of getting around the city. It's quite compact and easy to move. So I think there are lots of options in terms of commuting. I think, again, it really depends on where you live, because if you live in a larger city, cheaper accommodation tends to be further away from the city centre, so that may mean that you have a longer commute. But as I mentioned earlier, the new student accommodation that is coming online is much closer to the colleges, so that's definitely worth looking at.
When do you recommend students to stay at campus in the year one, or it is like, as David said earlier, they possibly may stay somewhere near to the campus or slightly in the outskirts of the city?
It's really up to the student, okay, what they're comfortable with. Undergraduate students normally get guaranteed campus, accommodation. But again, it's up to the student. If they want to take the campus accommodation, they can. If they're comfortable staying on their own with group of friends, they can go ahead and do that. They can do homestays, okay, where they stay with a host family. It's really up to the student, and it's the student how comfortable they are, and also on their budget. So it would depend on both those. Yeah.
And I would say there are a lot of online resources as well for Indian students to look at the options before they arrive. So there's lots of Facebook pages, there's lots of social media where there are groups of students already in Ireland who are tweeting or putting up posts about accommodation, about options and opportunities. So that's a good thing to look at before you arrive in Ireland as well, just to familiarise yourself with what the various choices might be.
A concern which comes especially in the minds of parents, in case if a student who is first time traveler or getting into a new country has some challenge, be it with the living in the new place or with the institution, can they connect with someone at the university or at someone with the Education Ireland or Enterprise Ireland to seek some help and guidance?
So each of the college or university that they go to have a dedicated person who kind of helps the international student, whether it's an Indian or any other foreign national, to integrate, okay, and becomes like a mentor. They also have, a buddy system in place where like another Indian student would buddy with that person to integrate them into the country as well as into the institution. So those kind of facilities are there. They are free to even contact us, okay. We have no restriction on that, so they can contact any of the Enterprise Ireland offices in Ireland and speak to us.
Great. So David, is there any website which students can refer to managed by Enterprise Ireland or some other government body where they can get a lot of information and they can rely on that information?
Yes, so I mean the main brand that we have is Education in Ireland, and educationinireland.com is the portal which really contains all of the information that we've been discussing today. It gives you advice and information on all of the different universities, colleges, third level institutions that operate under the brand. It gives you practical advice on visas, on applications, on scholarships and so on. So all of the items that we've covered today, you can get a lot of information from there. And as I say, I think students should also look at connecting with online Twitter, social media pages where other students are also talking about what their experience is like in Ireland. I think those are the main areas to look at.
I'd like to add to that. So on the Education in Ireland website, there's a student blog page. And it's not only Indian students, but students from across the world, where we take there are about 30 student ambassadors that Education in Ireland take every year, and they blog. They just write, okay, today I'm having a good day. Today, I've seen this place. So it's really nice for students to look at that and see what is the experience of a new student who's gone there to a new country and understand, how it could work for them too. So students could go and look at those kind of blogs.
Great. So my last question is a tip and advice you want to give to an aspiring student, and I'll come to you individually. One key tip from you, Wendy, first, and then I'll come to David.
Okay, actually I'm going to give two.
Okay. Why not?
Okay, so firstly is choose the course that will give you, the career you want to really pursue. Choose a country that will give you your ROI and be fun to live in and help you progress your career.
Great. David.
Yeah, and my advice would be definitely to echo what Wendy has said, but also to remember you're traveling not just to study. This is an opportunity for you to develop personally as well. This is a great chance to develop yourself, to see what you're capable of, to really explore new opportunities. And Ireland will give you the chance to do that. So take those opportunities, get out, see the country, enjoy yourself while you're there, make new friends, try new things. And I think if you take that attitude, you're going to have a fantastic time while you're away.
So that was Wendy and David with us from Enterprise Island. I hope you find this discussion very useful. Stay tuned for more. This is Amit Chaturvedi signing off. Thank you.